Well, dear, today I would like to brief about the basic principles of refrigeration. That is, how does the refrigerator work? And what are the names of the different components that we have for the working of the refrigerator and that which will match with what you have in your house, I mean the refrigerator. Well, once what happened was, long ago, but not so long ago, a common person, that's why I would like to brief it to somebody who has no knowledge on engineering, but still will be able to grasp everything completely with regards to whatever be the discussions that I'll be doing today about refrigeration. So this is meant for any common man. So shall I say that this explanation is dedicated to common people, people who have studied only up to +2. Should have a little knowledge in English and that is all. Or those who have done their BA, BCom, or maybe BBA, MBA and so on. Those in the course of their education have never entered into that field called engineering. So this explanation about the working of refrigeration, the principle of refrigeration and the working of the refrigerator is meant for such common people. And of course, those who have done their engineering and also are having vested interest in refrigeration. So this is meant even for such people, including the students. Very helpful information, this one. Okay, so it is going to be how does. Well, once what happened was, as I've told you 1 or 2 minutes before, that it was long ago, but not so long ago. So a common man who was an arts graduate had asked me this question, that we have to supply electricity for running the refrigerator. Of course, yes. And electricity is a hot process. Then how does cooling take place inside the refrigerator? For any other common mammal like this person, they will be thinking, oh, it is a wonderful question. So a hot process, from that we get cooling. So how is all that? It's only that we are going to learn today. Now, if we put a little bit of ether on our palm, it evaporates. Everybody knows that. See, for different liquids, the boiling or the vaporization temperature is different. And that temperature for the vaporization of ether is our common temperature itself that we have it in the atmosphere. So at this condition, when we put some ether in our hand, it evaporates. But at what cost? You see, when you supply heat to water, then it becomes steam. That is liquid to vapor. So from liquid to vapor, you see, it is not that just like that, without any supply, it takes place. Now, for the vaporization, some energy is needed. Like how heat is applied to water so that it will become steam. So like that, for any other liquid also, it is the same case. Heat is needed. So even though at normal temperature, when we put that ether in our palm, it evaporates. And as it evaporates, it needs some heat which we don't supply. We don't supply. So because of that, what happens is, as ether gets evaporated from our palm, so the only alternative left out is that the palm will be giving the heat for that vaporization. The heat is taken from by ether from our palm. So what happens is that when heat is going out of our palm, there will be a chillness in the palm. the temperature will be less. If you touch it, you can also feel it. Right. So after it gets evaporated, then what happens is that our palm is at a lower temperature now, touch it, it will be chill. And in the meantime, what happens is after the ether has got completely evaporated, then the heat from the outside, just now we spoke about it, the atmosphere, surroundings, whatever you call it, that is at a higher temperature when compared with our palm. Heat will flow naturally from higher temperature to the lower temperature, so the temperature of our palm again keeps increasing. So again, to make it chill, we have to put some more ether, same operations. Again put some more ether. So like that, if you want to keep this palm continues to chill, you have to keep on pouring, putting, whatever be the name you give it, we have to keep on putting more and more ether on our palm. So that evaporation, put more ether, again evaporation. So like that continuously our palm will be will be chill always. But please understand one thing. As we continuously keep on putting more and more ether, it is going to be a very costly affair. Ether is not less cost or cheap or whatever you call it. It's quite costly. Keep on putting it more and more naturally, it is going to be a costly affair. So that is why to keep our hand chill and also not putting more and more ether again and again. So for that, enough of R&D was going on. Lot of thinking. And then came the idea that somehow if we circulate the same ether again and again for cooling, then that will be fine. So it's only one time approach for putting the ether in our hand. So it is like this. So this is our palm. And we are putting some ether here. It gets evaporated. So instead of putting more and more ether, so came the next idea, why don't we circulate this ether again and again? So for circulation, as the ether comes out, instead of letting it out, we have to pull it by ourselves. And after pulling for circulation, you see, like how heat flows from a higher temperature to lower temperature. In the same manner, that is the case with everybody, man, for anything and everything. That circulation, that flow will take place from a higher pressure to a lower pressure. Everybody knows this. So what happens is that for this circulation, flow from higher pressure to lower pressure, we have to create that higher pressure. So it is taken into a device. For that it has to be pulled inside that device, and that pulling only is called the suction. So suction should take place, and afterwards for better circulation it has to be also pushed out. But during that pushing inside the device, a high pressure also should be created so that with that high pressure it can have circulation. And for that, the device which we are having is called the compressor. So what a compressor does is that I will show just a sketch, not more of details. So inside the compressor there are many attachments. We have got some electrical coil. Actually, the correct name for the compressor is not the compressor. In fact, it should be called a motor, because that is a function that is happening inside. Anyhow, so leave out all that. Then inside the compressor there are enough of arrangement, including the electrical coil, and another one arrangement is the piston and the cylinder. Here we have got oil, and that oil, what it does is that it cools. It does some cooling work, so that the temperature will not be very high when we try to apply the pressure there. So now here there is a valve. Valve, V-A-L-V-E, man, not W-A-L-L. Okay. So what happens is that this ether now will enter into this compressor, and what happens is at that time the piston is moving down. So as the piston is moving down, here there is an empty space. Empty space means nothing is there. So no pressure will be exerted there. And like that for the empty pressure, when there is no pressure, that is zero pressure, then that space only is called vacuum. So as the piston moves down, vacuum is filled here. Here, what we have is atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is not zero. Some people think like that. I am talking of a layman. So it is nearly 1 kg per centimeter square, or say 10 newtons per centimeter square. So it is a matter of good presence of mind or normal presence of mind that is needed to understand that 1 becomes 10 kg to Newton means 1 kg is equal to 10 newtons. Okay. So then what happens is that this ether is pulled inside the compressor by the downward motion of the piston. Reason? Vacuum is created. Vacuum is low pressure, zero pressure. And then afterwards what happens is that after it is taking in, this is what is called suction. So after that suction, due to the continuous movement of the piston, it reaches the lowest point and goes up. As the piston goes up, at a certain stage when the required pressure is reached, and that will be the pressure. Here there is one valve, here another valve. So whatever be the pressure out of this valve, it is a closed chamber, not closed tube or whatever you call it. So through that enclosure, whatever be the pressure there, if that pressure is reached inside, then little more movement of the piston, pressure will be even more. So it comes out, higher pressure to lower pressure. Okay, coming down, sucking, suction. Going up, pushing out. That pushing out is what is called pressurization. So there is another one more common name. This is all something which anybody without any knowledge on engineering should be able to visualize. What should be the other name? It is a compressor and then pushing takes place. So come out with that name, man. Yeah, it is called compression. So first suction is there, entry, then piston moves upwards, pressurization is there. Yeah man, pressure increases. So when the pressure inside and also outside the tube that is there at outlet, both become same, then for further upward motion pressure further increases. So higher pressure to lower pressure, automatically for this moment of the piston upwards, flow will take place at that higher pressure. So at higher pressure. I had already told you, here we have got an electrical coil and so on, and to which electric current is supplied, and there we have got a motor-like arrangement because of which rotation takes place. Piston is attached to that rotation, so because of more and more rotation, what happens is the piston will continuously keep on moving. Moving downwards, suction. Moving upwards, high pressure, the fluid is coming out. So higher pressure to lower pressure. So higher pressure is only here, lower pressure is here. So in between, the pressure will be between high and low pressure. So nothing to worry. So this is the highest pressure, so definitely it will have good enough pressure that there will be circulation throughout. So circulation takes place throughout. But what happens is that when evaporation or vaporization, whatever you call it, takes place, then the liquid ether becomes vapor. And for that, what we have seen? That volume increases, man. Liquid becomes vapor. You know, when 1 kg of water becomes same 1 kg of steam, the volume will increase more than 300 times. So that is why same 1 kg liquid, if it is converted into steam in the same container with that very, very high pressure steam, we will be able to get enough of power. That is why the engine that is there, which can handle steam, inside that the steam will push the piston, we will get lots of power, and for that the arrangement, that engine which we have is called steam engines. This was the type of engine that was fitted into railway engines earlier. Nowadays we have only diesel engines. Okay, leave out all that. Going out of the way is too much, and too much is too bad also. Okay, so now circulation takes place. For that we have a device, and I have already told you one, that is what is known as the compressor. Compression is there, that is why the name compressor. When compression takes place, volume increases, pressure increases. Yeah, man. Now, what happens is that when volume increases, for that increase in volume, the energy because of the volume will be more. That energy is given by our palm here. So to increase the volume, the ether will need energy. Similarly, when the volume decreases, the reverse energy will come out of that ether. Now here in this arrangement, I am talking of what is there practically. In this arrangement, the arrangement is such that whatever energy is liberated due to the decrease in the volume, that is sent back to the ether itself. When it is sent back to the ether, that energy reverse back is increasing the temperature of ether. So all happens within the gas, that the volume energy is converted into the temperature energy. So the total energy remains the same, because one energy, type of energy coming out goes back to the ether again. So the total energy, for which the other name is enthalpy in technical terms, that will remain the same. Okay. So now, well, for that the operation is different. So I'm just giving you some idea that there is something called enthalpy. So now what happens is that for decreasing the volume, that volume energy coming out is re-sent back. And actually there will be some amount of heat coming out. So we cannot avoid that, because high temperature here, low temperature, so some heat will come out. But the arrangement is such that that heat coming out is minimized. Very less heat will come out. So a lot of energy will be still present with the ether. And so the temperature of that ether will be very high. What is this, man? The very purpose of attaining the cooling itself is lost as high temperature is prevailing here. So somehow what we have to do is reduce the temperature. Higher temperature, to reduce the temperature, naturally it is anybody's guess that cooling is needed. So what we are doing is, you see this circulation, now changing that. But in that circulation we are attaching some of the components. So, so what we do is, therefore, here we keep a coil. And this coil, you can see in many, many refrigerators, it is back side of the refrigerator. Yes. It's a tube actually made up of copper. So other materials, normally it gets rusted, or it is even more costly than copper. So that is why copper is the ideal material that is there for the circulation of ether in the refrigerator. So cooling takes place. But understand one thing. Here, higher temperature is prevailing. Outside we have atmospheric temperature. So higher temperature to lower temperature, heat will come out. What does it mean? That when heat is coming out from higher temperature, then for lesser and lesser heat, what happens is that the temperature also will keep on decreasing. So at one time we get a fairly low temperature. Here the temperature is even sometimes 500, 600 degrees centigrade. So all that heat is coming out here, but you can understand that that heat is going to the atmosphere. So the minimum temperature that we will have in this circulation of ether will be atmospheric temperature only. Still lesser temperature not possible. So that is why, but atmospheric temperature is not enough, man. We want a chill. We want objects to be chilled very well. Sometimes it is 10 degrees, 5 degrees, -2 degrees. We have even negative temperatures inside the refrigerator. Yes. So we have to do further chilling. Why 2 devices for chilling? All that can't it happen in only one device? If somebody asks, there is a very nice explanation, very nice small answer for that. It is like this, that when heat is going to the atmosphere, for doing that cooling work, it is just like that going to the atmosphere. We don't make any argument. So all that cooling takes place for free, man. That is why one part of cooling, which is free, we have it in these coils. And the other part of cooling which has to give us further lower temperature, for which we have to spend something. So that is what we have for the remaining cooling in the next device. And that next device in huge, what is a large scale type of refrigeration, like large scale air conditioners. Air conditioning and refrigeration, there is not much difference when it comes to the working principle. The gas is different in both the cases. In air conditioning, the room that has to be cooled is big enough, whereas everything here is all small. That is the difference. So when you have a large scale arrangement for refrigeration, maybe it is AC also. So for that, the device that we are having for further cooling the temperature below the atmospheric conditions. So maybe 10, 5, 0, -5, -10. We have all these -10 or even less temperatures in our household refrigerator itself. Note that. So for that another device which we are having is called a throttle valve. So this is that throttle valve. This is how we show the symbol for that throttle valve. Some people show a line here. Why? I do not know. Okay. So we are having, after that compression process, high pressure here, high pressure up to this high pressure. The other side of this throttle valve is directed to lower pressure. Sometimes pressure even below our atmospheric conditions, but mostly it is atmospheric pressure only that we have. So high pressure to lower pressure. What happens? Lot of increase in the volume will be there. Lots. Like, see what happened here. After suction, the pressure increases because of that volume decreases. Here pressure increases, here pressure decreases. So the reverse should happen. Pressure increases and the volume decreases. Here pressure decreases, so the volume will increase, not decrease. Volume increases. But we don't want too much of increase in the volume. Less increase only, but this less increase itself is 100 times more. So in this throttle valve, what happens is that vaporization takes place. And for that vaporization, little energy is needed. We don't supply energy here. So all that energy is taken from the ether itself. It's taken from the ether itself. So the temperature of ether gets decreased. Cooling takes place here. Now, one more thing. This is a little bit technical, but I will try my best to put it in a general manner so that everybody can understand. So here, thing is that not all the liquid will get vaporized or will get evaporated. Note one thing, I am time and again using the word evaporator and vaporization. But both are not same, remember. Lot of differences are there. Vaporization will take place at a fixed temperature. That is the boiling temperature. But evaporation can take place at all temperatures. When it is, a hot day, and at that time you fill a bucket full of water, keep it below the hot sun in your house. After sometimes, say in the evening, when you go and see the bucket, you will find that there is little amount of decrease in the water. That in the morning it was, say, the temperature was 40 degrees, and in the afternoon it was 45, and nowadays this year we had temperature as high as 50 degrees. So the peak temperature, if it is 50, then for all these temperatures, if you go and see the bucket, at 45 degrees, the water level has come down inside the bucket. You have to watch it minutely. And then at 50 degrees, it has again got evaporated. So evaporation will take place at all temperatures, whereas vaporization will take place at a fixed temperature, and that vaporization temperature is also the boiling temperature of that particular fluid, say liquid. So that is the difference. So here vaporization takes place. When vaporization takes place, it is better we say evaporation. So first the temperature is not less. Some evaporation takes place. Because of evaporation, temperature will decrease. Different temperature, again evaporation. Further evaporation, temperature will even more further decrease. So here, changing of the liquid to vapor takes place at a different temperature. So to put it precisely, evaporation is the correct word here. There are a lot of more differences, but the result too technical and not relevant with what we are studying now. So I am stopping with that, just one point. The difference between vaporization and evaporation. Okay. So now here what happens is that, what is the amount of evaporation or say vaporization that should take place so that we will get the temperature good enough that less temperature is able to bring out the required cooling here. So for that nearly 5, 10, 15, maximum 20% of the liquid will get evaporated, not more than that. So we still have about 90% liquid coming out, but the temperature is very, very less because 20% or 10% evaporation is taking place, for which the increase in the volume will be about 100 times more. For that 100 times increase in the volume, volume increases, for that we want energy, 100 times increase in the volume. So how much of energy will be needed for that? Lot of energy. We don't supply that. So that is why that energy needed for evaporation here is taken from the system, that is from the liquid. For the time being, I have called it as ether, so from the ether itself. 10% is enough, man. It will bring a lot of decrease in temperature. So 80-90% liquid is still there, temperature is very less. At that very less temperature, now when it again comes to our palm, what is the actual thing that is there inside of the palm? All that I will brief you once the concept gets completed. So, at very low temperature, only 10 or 15% vapor and remaining 85 to 90% liquid form will enter our palm, because 90% liquid is there. In our palm, we know that vaporization does take place. So for that, it will again take the heat from our palm, so our palm will be again chilled. So the benefit of this circulation is we need not keep on putting ether again and again and again, more and more. So the same ether is circulated. Right. So then, you can see that here we have 4 components. These are the minimum components for producing the required cooling. We have got more attachments also. There is one called analyzer, then there is rectifier, and also more things. Without that also the refrigerator will work. But we are attaching more and more components for the reason that that will produce a higher efficiency. We will be able to get more amount of cooling for the same input that we supply to the compressor. Okay. So now you can understand, you might have got a good idea as to the reason why the electric current is supplied. I will show it to you. So here there is a shaft, and from that shaft there is one attachment that is called the crank rod, and from there there is one more attachment to the piston, and that is called the connecting rod. So here is that round object, and above that there is a coil, and only to this coil the electric current is supplied. So electric current is supplied. So this is the basic arrangement we have for the running of the refrigerator. Well, here please note that cooling takes place. The palm is always at a lower temperature because of the circulation. And to have that circulation, we need a compressor. And for that compressor, for the up and down movement of the piston, energy is needed. And for that energy, so that the up and down motion can be brought out, that is supplied by the electric current which goes inside a coil, and that will give us magnetic energy and also mechanical energy, so on and so forth, because of which rotation will take place, and the connections are all such that finally we will get the up and down motion of the piston. And then afterwards what happens? We know all that. Okay. So whatever I have told you, let us see that literally. See this part, cooling of the hand. Instead of that, what we have in practice is the cooling of bodies. cooling of perishables, and so on, like water, milk, your food items, so on. So, when you open the door of the refrigerator, when you open the door, so from here, the door is open. And whenever you want, you can also close it. The door is open now. So this is the refrigerator part. So whenever you want, you can close the door. Whenever you want, you can open it. And here you can see that there are enough of chambers for keeping different items. And here you will find that we have got bottles to be placed, and you keep other small things also. And so on. So here you keep many of the items for purposes of cooling. Here hand is getting cooled. So this entire space that you see, the same thing happens here, which was there for our hand. So the hand is representing the chambers here, where you keep many things for cooling to take place. In some of the refrigerators, you will, why some? In all the refrigerators, you will have a separate space for purposes of freezing, like water, ice cream. Water becomes ice, and so on. For that, there will be a separate door also. As you open it, so here more chilling takes place, more low temperature. Directly after this, when we get very low temperature, that will straight away go into the freezer part. Afterwards, with the remaining chillness, it goes to the other part of the refrigerator. And that's the cooling. There the cooling will not be so high. Because of that, only temperature decrease will be there. We will get cold water or milk or whatever is there. Okay. So this entire part is equivalent to the hand that I had explained before. And here the name is, this entire chamber, the name is the evaporator. So this is the evaporator therefore. And I had also told you that there is a compressor. The compressor, well, there is no difference. Here also it is called the compressor. Normally, the compressor is kept at the bottom of the refrigerator. So here we place that compressor. And you can see that for any compressor, it will have a dome shape at the top. And of course, we have got the piston cylinder arrangement here, coil, electrical coil, current is supplied to the electric coil, and so on. This electricity supplied will give us some rotation, because of which piston will move up and down, and by way of which compression takes place. And that is why whatever energy is supplied for which work is done in the compressor, that energy is therefore called compressor work. Normally, we denote it by Q, that compressor work. And thereafterwards, when cooling is produced, which is the main object of refrigeration, so main object of refrigeration, that is why whatever cooling is produced there, that is called refrigerating effect. Okay, proceeding further for more of practical details. So we have got a good idea about the evaporator and the compressor. And then, what happens is that here there are actually two layers. This is one layer of the refrigerator. You can see at the back side there is one more layer, two layers. In between the layer, there will be a gap. We are keeping non-conductive material there, like steel wool, and then we have got puff, and so on. Polyurethylene foam, that is a full name for that puff. Nowadays it is only puff that is used. Okay, so that is a very good non-conductive material, or it is a heat insulator. So no heat will otherwise go by the sides. All right. So then, or we will say minimum heat will get transferred than anything else. Okay. So here we have got that material which is filling the outside of the inner chamber, or the space between the inner and the outer chamber. So that puff is filled up. So because of that, due to good insulation, very less heat will come out from the sides. Then what we have seen is that after the compressor, we have got a coil. I have told you that it is there at the back side. Nowadays, we get fairly developed refrigerators wherein you cannot see this coil. It is all inbuilt inside. But in the 10 years before, or even before that, the refrigerator that we have had is all having a coil on the back side. Because it is at the back, I am showing it by dotted lines. So these are all the coils. In the coil, what happens is that when here the compression takes place, the temperature increases so much that whatever liquid is coming from the evaporator, that gets evaporated during the compression, pressure increases. So it is only in the vapor form that we will have the entry in this condenser. And here what we have seen in these coils. So here what we have seen is that the high temperature ether, or whatever gas it is giving away heat. Because it gives away heat, the vapor again becomes liquid. Same principle like water to steam, supply heat, steam to water, heat will be removed. Or you remove the heat. So heat is removed, so again that liquid form, vapor form is getting converted into the liquid form. I am sorry, I repeat it again, the vapor form is getting converted into the liquid form. So it is 100% liquid that will enter the other one where pressure decrease is there. Right. This part is called the condenser. That is why accidentally I have used that flows in the condenser. I wanted to say the word condenser, then afterwards I will use it again. That condenser is what you can see on the back side of the refrigerator in the form of a coil. So from here, after cooling, the vapor goes inside the compressor, comes out of the compressor, then goes to the coil on the back side, which I have shown it in the dotted form. So all that is what has been explained. There is one small difference. And that difference is that this device where pressure decreases, so volume increases. When volume increases, the needed energy is taken from the ether itself. So the temperature of ether comes down. And when some 15 to 20% of the liquid ether gets transformed into vapor, still 80 to 90% ether is in the form of liquid. Only 10% has gone on. That 10% is enough to bring the required low temperature here for producing the cooling here. And here, the process that we have is called the throttling process. Throttling. And this throttling process takes place in a device. Therefore, the name of this device is called throttle valve. And to tell you frankly, there is no throttle valve in the refrigerator. Instead of that, the condenser which is there at the back side, here, we put a very, very small tube. And you can, it is so small that you cannot measure it. You can only calculate it, or the calculation is all of highly precise instrument. With that only you can do the calculation. And these are the type of tubes which are known as capillary tubes. You know the principle of the capillary tube? Well, when you keep it where circulation, where flow takes place, and we have got that fluid or whatever it is up to the top, put a capillary tube inside, automatically that fluid will go rise inside the capillary tube. So we do not do anything, it automatically rises. On the other side, there is drop in pressure. So because of the drop, the volume should increase. And that volume increases takes place inside the capillary tube. High pressure, low pressure, so this is all automatic. That capillary tube only is there after the condenser. After the condenser, instead of the throttle valve, because it's a very costly affair, so we leave it out. It is used only for what is it, heavy duty type of refrigeration. Not here. Costly. So that is why instead we put a capillary tube instead of that. So a capillary tube goes on. So in the capillary tube, as rising takes place, because of the drop in pressure at the two ends, there is an increase in volume. This rising will give an increase in volume. Because of that, in this capillary tube, there, as the flow takes place, there is a decrease in temperature. Same principle, but different device. And with that decrease in temperature, what happens? I have told you already. So, from the compressor at high pressure in the vapor form, what happens is the system, the gas or evaporator or the ether, whatever you call it, it gets circulated in these tubes, the condenser. And in the condenser, after giving heat to the surroundings, at atmospheric temperature, it then goes. Thereafterwards, it goes inside that capillary tube, which is in heavy duty refrigeration. We have got a throttle valve for it. The throttle valve. Okay. So as the flow takes place through the capillary tube after the condenser, instead of this. So there the same operation is carried out like what we have studied about the throttle valve. Okay. Now, after the capillary tube, very low temperature and will 15% or 10% vapor form and remaining 90 to 95% liquid, then enters into all the different tubing into the on the back side and also at the top and bottom side. Circulation takes place, which you cannot see because this is all covered. And because of that circulation, cooling takes place. Then after the cooling, when the heat is taken by the ether, bodies will get cooled. So ether will be at a slightly higher temperature than the cold bodies. It will also be in the vaporous form, because when it takes the heat, becomes a vapor. That vapor now enters into the compressor, and everything that I have told you is just repeated again and again, so that continuous cooling is taking place. So the evaporator, this one, and then the compressor, this one, and then the condenser, backside shown in dotted lines. Thereafterwards, the throttle valve. Instead of that, we have got a capillary tube. From the condenser, there is a small tube. One person asked me, sir, what is the length of this tube which we are attaching to our domestic refrigerators? Well, it depends. See, we have got 265 liters refrigerator, we have got 310 liters refrigerator, 300, and then 165 is also there. So depending upon that, the length of this capillary tube varies between 9 feet to 13 feet. Yes, 9 feet to 13 feet. After that 9 and 2 feet to 13 feet, when from the capillary tube the vapor comes out, then it enters into, not vapor, mostly liquid, then it enters after all this cooling, mostly liquid enters into this throttle valve. And inside the throttle valve, the process that takes place to produce the required cooling, that is to produce the required low temperature, is called throttling. Here, what happens is that same thing, temperature decreases, volume increases. But volume temperature are all within the ether only. So that is why only energy is in a different form now. But nothing comes out. So here what happens is, during this operation, the total energy of the gas or of that ether will remain the same. It will remain the same. And for that, the process is called throttling. Okay. Now, I would like to tell you about how this throttling is taking place. What is the operation for that? What is the process of this throttling? I'd like to tell you. Before that, I would like to tell you one thing. See, it is not new. There's nothing new in it. This is what you are doing every day in a day-to-day life. Every day. But only thing is that we don't pay attention to it because we do not know that this is one throttling process. Every day what you do is, after getting up from bed, you brush your teeth. Your teeth is now fresh. Your teeth is fresh now. So what happens is that the bacteria in your teeth is removed by the fluoride that we have in the paste. So your teeth is fresh. So far, so good. But after brushing, the waste water that is there in your mouth, you would like to throw it out. For that, what you do? You try to enlarge your cheeks. Like this. So when you enlarge, what is the meaning? Because of that enlarge, you know that automatically inside you are creating a pressure. And with that high pressure, here you can see, with a very small opening in your mouth, you are trying to push out the waste water. Very small hole. So something like this. Don't take it otherwise. Don't give any other name to it. I am just giving an example for the manner in which water will be coming out. If you want, I can show you the throttling process by taking water itself into account. Okay. I'll show it to you just now. Okay. Right. So then, I was telling you about the throttling process. And besides that, I also told you that I would like to show it right now practically as to what is that throttling process. And it's nothing new, man. This is what is there in your day-to-day activities, and I have already given the example for that. Well, that wastewater after brushing, you do a little bit of gargling, and after the gargling, you apply some pressure. Note that point. Pressure. So here you have high pressure, outside you have got low pressure. High pressure to low pressure. See how well it matches. Then, if that matches, then water you are going to see now will also match over here. And little bit further more explanation, then that's all. Okay. So now you see it here. All of you saw it? Right. This is throttling, man. See, the small quantity, small volume of water which was there in my mouth, after the throttling process, now occupied so much of volume. 100, 200 or maybe even 300 times more or even more than that. So that small volume, when it gets vaporized, you can also see that a lot of water also, a lot of liquid also was there with that. This is what happens here. 80% liquid and 20% vapor. But still you nevertheless, you can see the size that is there for that water which came out. Or I'll say evaporated medium that came out. So that is what exactly happens here. Another very good example is the spray. Hit. Also more like that. And then room spray. So there, when you press it, what comes out? That is the throttling process. So, when this throttling takes place, after gargling to bring the waste water out, at that time, the water that is coming out in the form of, say, in an evaporated form, there if you happen to place your hand, afterwards wash it, man, what is there? So, there if you place your hand, you will feel the chillness in that. Do it tomorrow itself. And you will see how effective is the chillness. Quite good, quite chill it is. Only thing is, we have not noticed all that because we did not know anything about the principle or the concept of this throttling. We did not know, so we did not mind it. But now try it. Ask any kid that is there in a house to do the same thing. They will enjoy doing it. 6 times in a day they will do it. 6 times they will try to bring the wastewater outside and so on. It will be nice fun when we watch all that. Okay. So then, this is refrigeration. Not that water which had come out. No. All what I have told you, this is one complete mechanical circuit. So here, as I already told you, that all this explanation that I have given is for any layman to understand it. I have not used any bombastic or say technical words because of which very few people only can understand. Right. So like that, I'll try to bring forth more and more episodes which a common man can understand, and he will also be benefited out of it. You see, what happens is that when your refrigerator is under repair, you call the mechanic. Because he thinks that we are innocent, so he tries to fix the price for any of the component that has gone fat. Any price. And you know, supposing he says compressor is a problem. So you can ask the details about the compressor to a dealer. What will happen, what is the cost, and so on. This fellow, to do the repair work, he will charge something that is 75% the cost of the compressor. He will give a lot of examples. You see, it is imported, it is coming from UK. Many things he will say. But actually, most of the compressors that we have for refrigerator is being manufactured in our own country, man. Those people are bluffing. They themselves do not know actually what is the fact. So, the compressor normally, which is by the Kirloskar company, is manufactured in Pune, man. It's all very good. In fact, it is all exported even. So, that good quality compressor, which is indigenous one, is what we have in our refrigerator. And for somebody who is more inquisitive, one thing that I would like to tell you is that there are two types of compressor. One is of the rotation. Because of rotation, the arrangement is such that, see here, because of the rotation. So the arrangement, first this is the space. But during rotation, due to an eccentric kind of rod, so what happens is, because of more and more rotation, the gap keeps on decreasing. Because the gap decreases, this is also another type of compression. This is one type of compressor called the rotary compressor, and in which there are so many different types. Let us forget it, not needed for us. And then another type of compressor is what is the piston and cylinder arrangement, which we have seen it quite elaborately a few minutes before. This is what is called the reciprocating compressor, because due to the reciprocating action only, the process is being carried out in the compressor. Okay. I was telling you a little time ago that like this I will be coming out with more and more episodes, so that a little more additional knowledge by enquiries, you have to do that. Or maybe you can call me also. So, by inquiry you will have a good idea, so that you will not get cheated by the mechanic who is coming to your place to do the repair work. Okay. So next time, I do not know, I will take something like this. Okay. I will give some information about automobiles. Like the braking system, the wheels, and then the petrol, how that petrol is converted to mechanical energy. There also we have that piston cylinder arrangement only. Only difference is there. At high temperature we get the output, here at low temperature we get the output. So reverses, that is the engine, man. Yeah. So many times to run the refrigerator, an engine is attached to the side of it. From the engine the output is going to the refrigerator, and that output is doing the cooling work. So there are many applications. What I am telling you is not imaginary or what you study in the books. It is there, existing in reality also. Okay then. So, till such time that I tell you everything about automobiles. Okay. Another information is that I was talking to you about the circulation of ether. It is actually not ether that is having the circulation for producing the cooling in a refrigerator. The common name for that medium which is there to do the cooling is called refrigerant. And it is a different chemical altogether, not ether. I have given the example of ether for the reason that ether is something which is a very, very common term, and everybody knows it. And they also know that when we take out ether in the open, it readily evaporates. So all the people know this. That is why I have taken ether as an example. But we have got more cheaper chemicals and more efficient one also. So that is that. And like for example, we have CCl2F is one. CCl3F or F1, something like that, is yet another one. And so on it goes. Right. So then other chemicals are used, and this medium that we have as a chemical to get circulated and also do the cooling work is what is known as the common name, refrigerant. And we have got difluoro, dichloromethane and other names, not ether therefore. Okay. Well, another information, this is a bit more technical, but still it is easy to remember, so that we can also discuss about it or say all this to somebody else who is ignorant. And that is to find out that the effectiveness of the cooling that is produced in a refrigerator. Well, I have told you that the energy that we supply to the compressor in the form of electric current is what is called Q. And this is the input, note that. And the cooling that is produced here, produced in the refrigerator, is what is called the refrigerating effect. Refrigerating effect in the refrigerator. The symbol for that is N. Please note that N is output and Q is input. Then there is always a comparison in most of the studies as to what is the performance of the system. For that we do the comparison of the output with the input. That comparison to find the performance here is what is known as the coefficient of performance. For our domestic refrigerator, this is somewhere equal to 6.2 to 6.5. Between 6 and 7, that is what we have as the performance level for domestic refrigerators. Okay. Then the cooling produced, the input to the compressor, they all should be in the same form. What I mean to say is that the energy which we get, that is the energy which is removed due to cooling, called the refrigerating effect. If that is 1 unit, say joules, this also should be in joules. Then only the comparison will be correct. So here we have output by input. And please note, cooling is very, very high even for a small amount of energy input. So this is always more than 1. Similar to this, what is there for finding the performance of engines? So there it is called efficiency, but still there also it is output by input. And here I have told you, heat transfer is the one that is the main effect to produce the output. So the input will be heat added. Here this is always less than 1. Here it can be anything, 1, 2, 3, 4.6, anything. And normally it is always more than 1. So it is the same thing, output by input for both the refrigerator and the engines. But why the difference that more than 1 here, always less than 1? Okay. For that, when I was studying in the 7th standard, an incident had taken place. There came an announcement from the management that this coming Sunday, we are all going for the picnic. For a picnic, they even named the place. For that, each student has to pay 20 rupees. Those days, man, 20 rupees was even more at that time. So everyone has to pay 20 rupees. That was it. So most of the parents will agree it's 20 rupees, okay, because when mother tells something abstract, let him enjoy. That is what the father will say. Okay. But some houses, no, there is objection. No, cannot give. So like that, what happened was, when that announcement came when I was in 7th, that going for the picnic, 20 rupees and so on. My friend's parent did not accept. No, I cannot give. Then what happened was that my friend was having some 3 rupees or something like that in his pocket. He went to the market. By bus it was 25 paise those days. Going to that market. So going 25 paise, coming 25 paise, 50 paise gone, he was having 3 rupees. And out of that 3 rupees, 50 paise gone means 2 rupees, 50 paise was still remaining with that. He purchased flowers and he gave those flowers to his mother. You keep something and also remaining, you keep it in front of God. All that he said. Oh, he's so good, the mother thought. Now he started everything again. Mother, that picnic, 20 rupees. No, I don't have money. See, I like you so much. I went to the market so long distance and I purchased flowers for you and so on. He started cooling his mother. So now the mother said that, okay, when the father comes in the evening, I will talk to him. So that discussion went on between the mother and the father during the evening. And what happened was, mother started arguing in favor of that boy's son. Before she was objecting, now favoring him. Finally, after all this talking, the father accepted, okay, 20 rupees, take it. The boy felt happily. Next day he gave the 20 rupees and he was prepared for the picnic. So now you can see that there are two outputs. One output is that he was having 3 rupees on hand, 50 paise gone, and he purchased flowers for 2 rupees and 50 paise. So this was the output and this was the input. So which is equal to how much? Something like 0.12, or I am not exact, but it is somewhere around this. Not 0.12, it is 0.888 or 87. So 87% is the performance of that boy. When you see it the other way around, by spending just 3 rupees, so 3 rupees was the input here also, and by that he was able to get 20 rupees. Now see the performance, nearly 7, 6.95 or whatever. Then this is what we have for the engine and this is what we have for the refrigeration. Both are output and input. A lovely example because of that classmate of mine that I was able to generate. And this is what I keep on telling in every class, even at PhD level. That because of which everybody understands very clearly what is this is practical and so on. Why output is more there? Why the performance is more here and whereas there for engines it is less and so on. This is the reason. So the engine input is 3 and refrigeration performance, this one, their input is the same, but what you get as the output. This is the cooling produced. This is the output which drives the vehicle where engine is fitted. So that same difference is what we have here also between the two. For the engine and the refrigeration, the coefficient of performance. Okay. So far so good. We will meet again until such time.